the subject of still life can cover a lot of different sorts of images. So perhaps the term still life would make you think of an historic painting that has fruit and dead pheasants and maybe some goblets. But still life can also just be objects. The still life series started years ago when my parents were downsizing and moving to a retirement village. And Mum was good, she was organised, Dad wasn't, he had a big farmer-sized shed, so we decided he needed some help. So I went into the shed with him to look at what he had, thinking that I'd take photos and would load them up and put them online to sell. And it was all going pretty well. It was actually interesting because he was giving me a history of everything, and then when we got to the Sid Chrome toolbox, he said, "It's all got to go, it's all got to go." And I said, "I'll have that." And being a farmer, and I have an older brother, and Dad said, "Nah, your brother's getting that." So I was feeling ever so slightly miffed and just continued to follow him around quietly. But by the end of the day, I decided I would weave my own toolkit. So the Sid Chrome toolkit that I wove actually has doors that open and close. I like making really bad puns. And lately, I've been starting to think about my age because I've turned 65 this year. And because this exhibition is about still life, I don't know why the line came to me, but still liking the old girl yet. So I'm assuming I'm going to keep weaving. Okay, so the bits and pieces is a piece of canvas fabric with the drill bits slotted in, and the real thing you can actually roll up. So I thought I'd weave it like you could roll it up. And then I continued on to make the socket set. And as you can see, this was a lovely little container. My father was quite neat and pedantic, so it lived in that little container even though he kept using it and putting it back neatly. And then I moved into my partner's garage to look at his tools, and I did weave a few from his collection, but they sold. So what I have left is the vacuum mulcher, which is very noisy and handy, and the upright mulcher, which also is very handy. Probably about 15 years ago, I was working in a gift shop, and my boss there was really understanding that after I'd priced everything, dusted everything, I needed something to do. So he actually was happy enough for me to draw some of the stock. So he had all these rice bowls and coloured chopsticks. So I just played with collections of 5 rice bowls and maybe red chopsticks, or 2 rice bowls and chopsticks. So I just played with combinations. Then he also had vases in various colours. So I started drawing those as well. And as you can see, they ended up in little tapestries. Okay, so also when I was in the gift shop, I started weaving containers. So green bottle and cups, cream bottle, and the vases by 3 were also things that I really liked and decided I had to draw. So last year during lockdown, I decided that I needed a project. So I went back through my photos and I found images of containers that I'd seen at the National Gallery of Victoria. So some of these containers were earthenware pots. So I have one piece that has, the biggest piece has 7 earthenware pots. And then, so that's 6 centimetres, 6 inches high by about 20 inches wide. And I took 2 small tapestries from the big one. So one has 3 earthenware pots and another has 1 earthenware pot, which I've called Wonky Pot because my pot turned out even wonkier than the one in the NGV's collection. And then I went on to look at other ceramics. So they had lots of ceramics that were possibly from the 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So I worked on the jugs. So I had a large piece that had 5 jugs, and that again is 6 inches high by about 20 wide. And then I chose 2 of those to do smaller pieces that are 6 inches square or 15 centimetres for young people. And a lot of my work on the still life pieces, whether it be something in the shed or on my windowsill, I like to work on one object and really hone in on the shading and the curves. So my work looks quite simple and you think, oh yeah, the jug, woohoo! But I sort of zen in, I take my time, and I work really hard on getting a beautiful shape that in my mind's eye I can sort of sweep my hand down the edge. I find an awful lot of pleasure in the simplicity. Because my work is so personal, I'm really happy to know where my work goes. But every now and then, a total stranger will come out of the blue and purchase my work because on some level, they find a connection to it. They might have a jug like that at home, or perhaps when I was doing my animal series, they had a dog like that. It's, in a sense, surprising to me, but also really pleases me when total strangers buy my work. And then the last collection of objects that I really wanted to weave were blue bottles on my windowsill in the kitchen, which I must admit I had to give a wash before I took some photographs because they got quite dusty. So the first one, the biggest one, has 13 bottles, and then I took my favourites amongst them and had 2 smaller tapestries, one that had blue bottles and then another one that had blue and green and I think clear tops. Some of these blue bottles I bought. I think there's a perfume bottle, there was a very expensive water bottle from the Alps in Switzerland or something, and I just bought it because I like the bottle, not necessarily wanting to buy water from Switzerland. Champagne bottles, yeah, it's from all over the place. I've had them for a long time, so I can't really.
Thank you, Joy, for choosing Gallery 76 to exhibit your current works in Still Life in the Old Girl Yet. And we are pleased to be opening the exhibition online this evening. But as April's already mentioned, Gallery 76 is now open 7 days a week and on Saturday and Sunday from 10 till 2. Gallery 76 is a dedicated textile art gallery in Sydney, and we are pleased to be exhibiting Joy Smith's work, as Joy is such a well-known Australian tapestry weaver. The Embroiderers Guild of New South Wales is a not-for-profit organisation run principally by enthusiastic volunteer members from all over New South Wales, with the two exceptions of our gallery coordinator, April Spears, and our guild administrator, Janet Davidson. I would like to acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of this land, and would like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I will shortly invite Valerie Kirk to officially open Joy's exhibition. But first, I would like to give a short summary of Valerie's very packed life to date as an artist, tapestry weaver, writer, teacher, and public figure who has made a significant contribution internationally. Valerie, as you can tell from her beautiful Scottish accent, originated in Scotland and completed a degree there and postgraduate studies in art, design, and woven tapestry at Edinburgh College of Art in Scotland. The college awarded her His Royal Highness Prince Charles Award and the Helen Rose Bequest Award. So that was even before she got started. As a graduate, she travelled to Australia to produce commissioned tapestries as part of the team at the Victorian, now Australian Tapestry Workshop. She then worked for the Crafts Council of Australia, travelling the country to teach in Indigenous communities, schools, colleges, and universities, and worked as an artist in residence, leading community tapestry projects. During this time, her work in tapestry and drawing was exhibited internationally. While actively maintaining her practice as an artist, Valerie's remarkable capacity for achievement has seen her research Australian Indigenous textiles, direct significant projects, guest lecture on international textile tours, and create major works. From 1990 to 2017, Valerie Kirk was a senior lecturer and head of textiles at the Australian National University. And between 2004 and 2019, the university commissioned her to design and weave 6 major tapestries to celebrate the Nobel, Japan, and Kyoto prizes in science. Recently, she exhibited in So Fine at the National Portrait Gallery, Canberra, Australia, and Project Barbar, Ireland. I'm very intrigued to know what Project Barbar was in Ireland. Awards such as the Australia Council and New Work Grant, the ACT Creative Arts Fellowship, Muse Arts Woman of the Year Award, and the Canberra Centenary Community Tapestry Project mark substantial success, and her artwork can be seen in collections nationally and internationally. So we're very fortunate for you to be able to invite you, Valerie, to open Joy's lovely exhibition.
Thank you very much. That was a very lovely and very long introduction. And
we feel like we know you now, but tell us about the Barbar Award before you start.
Yes, I was thinking I should say Project Barbar. Did anyone guess? It was all about sheep. Barbar. So it was all about wool and sheep, and it was a fantastic organisation and event in Ireland, which of course, unfortunately, I couldn't attend in person. And I do wish I could be here with you all in Sydney tonight, but I'm speaking from Canberra, close to Sydney, but as we all know, because of COVID, everything has changed. The benefit, of course, is that we can all be together from our living rooms, from our studios, from places scattered around the country, and indeed around the world. So it makes this probably an even more special occasion. We haven't got a small number in the gallery with Joy, but we have a collection of people from many different places who are here tonight to celebrate with her at this solo exhibition. I love the title of the exhibition, Still Life in the Old Girl Yet. Still life we know as a genre of art. Everyone is familiar with that form of setting out objects and working usually in painting from that set of objects. But the title reflects Joy in her personality, in her sense of humor, and the way that she looks at the world. Still life in the old girl yet. Joy initially trained in Warrnambool at the TAFE College there in arts and weaving. From there, she went to work at the tapestry workshop in Melbourne, which was the Victorian tapestry workshop and is now, of course, the Australian tapestry workshop. She also worked at West Dean, which is a wonderful tapestry workshop in the south of England. That experience, I think, gave her a very strong professional grounding, working in two highly professional tapestry workshops. At the same time, she has pursued her own work as a tapestry artist and weaver, producing work for exhibitions, commissions, and community tapestry. This work has been recognised as Joy is the winner of several major art prizes. On her CV, when I looked down the CV, I was really quite astonished to see how many solo exhibitions Joy has had. And really, as a tapestry weaver, this is a remarkable fact, because we all know it takes a long time to produce even one small tapestry. So seeing this list of exhibitions, one exhibition almost every 2 years of her professional life, is absolutely a major achievement for an individual weaver. And then looking at what Joy has done in this time through her career as an artist and tapestry weaver, it's really obvious to me that she has a kind of way of working where she works in a series of work. So starting with a theme and developing that theme and producing one tapestry and then the next, following the same theme or the same subject matter. This, I think, gives her a chance to play with the imagery, to really think about what she's doing and tweak ideas, move things around visually, experiment with the techniques perhaps, to work on several tapestries around the same kind of ideas. In these tapestries, the things that recur are the elements of repetition, obviously in the weaving, as we weave one pass after another, it is a repetitive process, but also in the designs and in the way that she uses the techniques. Color, I would say that Joy has a very strong grasp of color, a very bold sense of color, nothing that's muted, everything that's very direct. And also a really good sense of composition, the way the elements in a picture are put together. This comes across very strongly in Joy's work. Altogether, it's a very graphic style, a strong, bold, graphic style, which I think means that her work is now highly recognizable as her own individual work. Often the themes and the subjects of Joy's work come from her experience and her observations of things around her, in her street, in her home, where she's working, or when she's traveling. She has a capacity to see everything with a sense of fun, with humor, and that always comes through in her work. And I also noticed on the website, you see these little touches that are just Joy and her very personal sense of humor. The actual tapestries, when I look at them, they are so finely woven, beautifully woven. It shows the years of time at the loom, that 10,000 hours that people talk about to become an expert in something. It's very obvious to me. It looks refreshingly simple. It's not cluttered. There's nothing extraneous. It's very pared back. But I think that's only possible when you have that kind of expertise, when you absolutely know what you're doing and you can be really sure about it. So the tapestry demonstrates that mastery of the medium and of the trained eye. When I was looking on the website, because of course I haven't seen the exhibition yet, the first tapestry that caught my eye was the tapestry called The Windowsill. This shows blue containers lined up along a kitchen windowsill. It's the kind of thing we love to do at home, arrange things and make our environment our own. But in the image that Joy has presented as a tapestry, there's a very clear composition. Everything is ordered. It's like the objects are standing up to attention in this linear, refined composition. So we can see the variety of shapes, the different sizes and the colors. One thing that stands out in the work is the weaving of the transparency of the glass. Glass, as we know it, is a very hard, reflective medium. Tapestry is actually the opposite. It's soft and very forgiving in its materiality. And so to capture the quality of glass in tapestry is very challenging. In the work, Joy has done this through playing with color and tone and through mixed threads on the bobbin that give that sense of seeing one color through another. In other series, there are the earthenware pots and the jugs, and they reflect Joy's experience of working in a gift shop. Tapestry weavers often have other occupations. And she talked about in the gift shop, in the downtime when the dusting and the sorting and the unpacking and the ordering was done, she could just really enjoy being with the collection of objects in the shop. And she would play with the compositions, arrange them and rearrange them, draw them and take in the shapes and forms. She was using this time really productively. She wasn't a bored shop assistant, twiddling her thumbs behind the counter. But in this time, taking pleasure in the objects around her, training her brain to think and look, and becoming more accomplished as a visual artist. I particularly like the works with the red chopsticks and the rice bowls. They become very abstract, very minimal compositions. Her same disciplined eye and the same sensibilities were applied to the contents of her father's shed. Everyday tools and equipment were transformed into icons of the male domain. The most spectacular piece, I think, is the Sidchrome tool set. Now, this must be a very Australian item. I didn't grow up with this in my father's shed, but I've since seen similar objects. So like a piece from the pop art movement, the tapestry transforms the subject through the soft materiality, the intense color, and the trompe-l'oeil of the shading in the tapestry, making everything seem kind of hyper-real. The tapestry is really a glorious and intriguing object. Joy has developed a very particular visual language as an artist, bringing everyday objects to our attention in a way that gives us pleasure and so much enjoyment, and sometimes a smile along with it. Her work encourages us to pay attention, to slow down, to observe, and to appreciate the small things around us, something that's become more important in this time of COVID, but something that we should pay attention to and live by in our own daily lives. So I would just like to congratulate Joy on a fantastic show. It's not an easy thing to do, a solo show, particularly in this time. We might have more time at the loom, but we have more things going on in our world, more things that grab our attention that we have to think about and worry about. And so I think through this time, continuing to work and putting forward this show for us all to enjoy is a great achievement. So thank you, Joy, and congratulations. And please join me in congratulating Joy. And it's my next pleasure to hand over to Joy, who's in her studio in Melbourne. It looks very familiar, the boxes of materials, the surroundings of the trade. So Joy, it's lovely to have you here, and over to you in your studio.
Thank you, Valerie. I'm just wondering who that person you were talking about was. Doesn't sound like anyone I know. So yes, I'm in my studio, so I'll just do a little whiz around. Let me move my laptop. So books, lots and lots of books on tapestry. Behind me, lots of yarn. More tapestries on shelves and things. So I have a very tiny and messy studio, but it's my haven. And answering something that Valerie brought up, I do a lot of weaving because I work part-time, only work part-time, and I don't have any children, and I only have one very annoying cat, and I don't do a lot of housework. So I'm very proud of most of those things. Okay, so now I just really need to try and get my camera to work. So I thought I'd just take you through my design process. So I have actually a little piece here. So this is where I started. Little teacup, Asian teacup. So I started with that, and then I took some photos. I'll just get my drawing book up. Took a photo, and then I changed a few things. There is my really simplified artwork that I started from. And then after I got the artwork sorted, I made what we call a cartoon. So a cartoon is just a line drawing. And this line drawing hangs behind your warps. With how well you can see that, but when you're actually weaving your tapestry, that's where your cartoon hangs. So that's used as a map and a guide, and you push it up against your warps, which most of you will know are your up and down threads, and you mark with an indelible pen little dots on the warps. So that's your roadmap to weave by. And I'll just show you that finished piece. So that is a piece that I wove for a course that I'm teaching at the Australian Tapestry Workshop. So that's the relationship I have with the workshop now, is teaching face-to-face and online, which usually goes about as smooth as tonight's gone for me. So whether it's me with my inability with technical issues, or my cat coming in and staring at my students or attacking my weaving. Anyway, this piece I wove quite coarsely. So as Valerie said, I normally work terribly finely, using perhaps only 3 strands of yarn. But here in this piece, I wove with 8 strands, and it felt like I was weaving with rope. And it finished very quickly, this one. I finished this one in a day. But it was just a simple little tapestry to show students that we work with at the Tapestry Workshop. So now I will show you how we actually weave. So this is a little sample. Oh, and in the background, can you see the jugs? So you'll see these jugs over here in my exhibition. Now, this is just a very basic beginner's sample, brightly coloured, more brightly coloured than I usually work, but I thought it would be a good project to show you how to weave. So we work with these gorgeous bobbins. So there is an absolutely gorgeous bobbin. Sometimes my students buy lots of bobbins and they don't intend continuing to weave. They just want the bobbins because they're such beautiful tools and they sit really nicely in your hand. So some of us have a lot of bobbins because they're such beautiful things to own. So tapestry weaving is really just basically over and under. So we'll go back up the top. So what I'm doing is picking up every second thread. I pass the bobbin through and beat down the weft. And then if I'm going to make it neat and tidy, tuck my tail in the back. So I'm hoping that's clear enough for you to see. And then when you weave back, you go over and under the opposite to the previous row. Probably sounding like a school teacher now. And you continue on like that. So each row is the opposite under and over to the previous row. And tapestry, the way that I weave it, and the Tapestry Workshop mostly weaves it, is what we call a weft-based fabric. So these are your warps, the up and down threads are your warps, and the threads that go this way are called your weft. So the way to remember that is your weft goes from white to weft. So that sometimes helps students remember. So everything that I make, every tapestry that I weave is actually made like this, just weaving over one and under one. And then depending on the shapes that you make and the colour combinations that you have, you can end up with something like this or something much more detailed. So here you can see that mostly I've used a solid colour, so all my strands of yarn are the same colour, but up here on this bit of the background, I've used mixed thread. So sometimes I use wool, and I think this one's got a little bit of wool and linen and maybe even some silk in it, just to give it a bit of a fleck and a bit of a texture. And down the bottom, I've got some linen. Linen is absolutely lovely to work with. So this has turned into a very short demonstration on how to weave.
Thanks, Joy. That's really, yeah, really interesting. It's lovely to see what, I don't know, yeah, the process is. So, hi everyone. I'm April Spears. I'm the gallery coordinator here at Gallery 76, and I've had the great pleasure of installing Joy's exhibition with some of our amazing volunteers here at the gallery this week. Yes, Janet's put in the chat that looks very therapeutic, and it is a very therapeutic exhibition, I might add. We just walk into the gallery space and I feel so calm with all her beautiful, simple, clean pieces. I just feel very zen walking through the gallery. So I really encourage everyone to, if you're in the correct state, given the current restrictions, I really encourage everyone to come in and see the pieces in person, because they're, you know, the videos, no matter how hard you try, will never quite capture the essence of a textile piece. And as you all know as well, Joy's amazing exhibition was meant to happen here back in July in winter, and right as she shipped all the works to us and we got them, we started unpacking them, lockdown was announced, and then the lockdown spread to Melbourne and it was all very dramatic. So we're so excited to finally have Joy's lovely pieces up in the gallery. And we've spent the week filming the exhibition and putting together a short, very short, sort of 10-minute glimpse into the show here. As I said, we absolutely love her work here. So we'd love for anyone who's able to make it to come and see it in person. We're open 9 to 4 during the week and 10 to 2 on weekends. So please pop in, If you want any further details for any pieces or interested in buying a piece, please feel free to email me at galleries@embroiderersguildnsw.org.au, or you can give us a call at the office one day. We'll put those details in the chat now. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we will also be sending the YouTube link to that video to all the attendees from this evening, so you'll be able to watch that again. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'm going to hand back to the wonderful artist herself, Joy Smith.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Embroiderers Guild New South Wales, and thank you very much, Valerie, for all your kind words and giving me a different perspective on myself, which, yes, it's always interesting to have other people talk about you. Yes, hope you all enjoy the show, and may we actually get to go to shows in person really soon. That would be wonderful. And April, we do need a little red dot on the long bottles one.
So you've got to get in fast, I think, is the, you know, the important message here. Thank you.
Wait patiently.
And wait patiently, very soon. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thank you so much, Valerie, for opening the event and giving us the, you know, introduction to tapestry as a medium. Yeah, and thank you, Joy, for all your patience with COVID and with delays, various delays in actually putting the exhibition up on the wall. So we're very grateful to you as well.
Hey, April, could we all unmute and give a real round of applause?
I think, yes, I think we're on, we're finished now. Let me unmute everyone.